over a resistance band muscle building workout. So we're going to be covering full body. We're going to be doing 2 exercises for the upper body, 2 exercises for the lower body, and without those 4, we're going to cover a majority of the muscles all through your entire full body workout. So if that sounds good, go ahead and hit the thumbs up for me on the video. Now we're going to start with a warm-up using a moderate level resistance band. Now for all these exercises, we're going for muscle building. So that means we're going not high weight, but medium high with higher reps. And that's what's gonna get us the better muscle building, where it's a combination of muscle strength and muscle endurance. So for today, I'm gonna start by warming up using a green band, which is right in the middle. And then I'm gonna be moving to the higher bands as we go. So for the first exercise, we're going to be doing a chest press. This is for the chest muscle, the anterior deltoid or the front of the shoulder, and the tricep in the back of the arm. What you're going to do is attach the band either to a door anchor or wrap it around a post and have the band right at chest level. From here, one handle in each hand. Bring your hands out to the side and then step forward till you feel that tension pulling you back. So you want your hands right at chest level and also basically right where your thumbs are tapping the inside of your chest, and then bring them a little wider to your elbow level, or elbow right in front of your elbow. And what that does is it opens up that chest. We're gonna push the chest out to really stretch that chest muscle, because that stretch position is where you're going to gain the most muscle mass. So we really wanna emphasize going all the way forward and all the way back, especially. That all the way back is where you really build that muscle. So try and keep your chest out as you bring your hands back as far back as you can go. Think about really bending those elbows. The more you bend your elbow, the more you will actually get that hand back towards your chest level. Almost trying to bring your elbows behind your back. Doing about 5 to 10 of these. Just getting warmed up. We should feel that in the muscle though. Shouldn't be tiring yet though. If it's tiring, you're using too heavy of a band. So try a little bit lighter band for your warm up. And then if it is tiring, you know what band level you need to use for your actual workout though. Right now, we're starting out with a warm up of the same exercises, getting the muscles that we're about to use primed and ready to go. So now we just did pushing muscles. Now we're going to do pulling muscles. So those are the lats, the bicep, these muscles between the shoulder blades, like the traps, the rhomboids, these retracting muscles around the shoulder blades. So for this, we're going to do a band row. For this, still having it right at shoulder level or right at chest level, you're going to have your hands out in front of you. And what I want you to do is really let your band pull you forward. So it's pulling your shoulder blades apart. This is our starting position. From here, you're going to bend your elbows, pulling to your rib cage. Now, you don't want to be up here like this. You want to have your chest out still, pulling to your rib cage. So you're pulling a little bit down and back. So you should feel that between your shoulder blades and in your upper back as well as your arms. So working that bicep in your arm as you're working your upper back as well. This is covering all those pulling muscles that complement to the pushing muscles. Doing about 10 reps of this, warming up those shoulders. Find a lot of people neglect pulling not everyone, but some people do a lot of like push-ups, but they never do any sort of pull-ups or rows. And so one side is really developed and then their back is really underdeveloped. And that's not a good thing. We want to make sure we're even on both sides. So that's why we always do exercises in complementary pairs. So if we do one side, we do the other as well. So the front muscles and then the back muscles. So now we're going to move to lower body. So for this, we're going to do a banded squat. So you're going to stand right in the middle of the band with the handles on in each hand. Then I want you to bring the handles up to your shoulders. If you need to, if that's a little hard to get in that position, what you can do is put your hands up and then step in the middle of the band instead. That way you don't have to worry about getting the band up here to your shoulders. So from here, feet about shoulder width apart, you're going to bend your knees, keeping your back straight. So straight back, bending your knees like you're sitting down and then back up. If you want to, you could even do this in front of a chair. Just tap the chair and then stand back up. You should feel this in the front of your thigh especially. So I'm trying to stand straight and tall, feeling that in my quads, which run along the top of your thigh to your knee. Now, if this is a little bit too challenging, you can always make the band lighter. This is just getting warmed up, getting blood flowing into your legs. And now, we're not going to use the handles for this next exercise, so I'm just going to leave them attached, but hook the band together. So I'm just going to take the two carabiners and hook them together instead of attaching to the handles. I'm just going to let these handles hang out here. If you want to, you could just take the handles entirely off as well to get them out of your way. So it's just the band. So from here, same thing with stepping in. We just worked the top of the thigh. Now we're going to work the hamstrings in the back of the thigh. So for this, you're going to grab onto that band. And what I want you to do is stand in front of a wall. This is a stiff-legged deadlift. So from here, without bending your knees, I want you to push your hips back, tap that wall, and then stand back up, trying to keep your back straight and your legs straight. So this is working those muscles that attach at your hip and at the back, down to the back of your knee. So we're working the glutes and the hamstrings in this one. So going down, really pushing your hips out to the back, really trying to drive those hips backwards. And as you go up, squeeze your glutes together. So imagine like you're trying to create no gap between your glutes. Doing about 10 of these, warming up this muscle. And 10. So those are the 4 exercises we're going to start with today. Now, if you stick around to the end, I'm going to be doing a 5th exercise for the rotator cuff. So that sounds good to you? You're going to have to wait till the end to see that. Excuse me. So now we're going to be doing what are called supersets. So since we do these exercises in pairs, we're going to do pushing and pulling as a superset. So where we alternate between pushing and pulling exercises so we can get through the workout quickly and efficiently while one side is recovering. So while let's say the pulling muscles are resting, we're using the pushing muscles, and then vice versa. That lets us get through the workout much faster and where we have less rest time. So we can still build a lot of muscle in less time. So for this, I'm going to be going up in resistance. So we started out with a warm-up weight. Now I'm going to be moving to a higher weight. So what I would encourage you is to try and find a resistance band that is challenging once you get past 5 or 6. So if it's challenging at where you're like, oh man, 1 or 2 and that's too much, that's too heavy for you. At least for the type of training we're doing right here, because we're doing muscle building training. That's, for that we want a bit higher reps. So we are combining strength and endurance. If you're going too low rep, you're just prioritizing strength, which is not a bad thing, just not what we're doing here today. So strength is much more about low reps. Muscle building is much more about moderate reps. So try and find a band that is where you can get somewhere around 10 reps. So we're going to start with a chest press. So hands at elbow width, chest out, and your thumbs should be about chest level. From here, sorry, a sec. Just making sure the band's not pulling more on one side than the other. Should be about even. So we wouldn't want uneven arms where one side's really bulky and one side's not. So from here, pushing your chest out and then out towards the front, keeping that chest up. Now you want it to where there's tension all the way through the movement. So if you feel like there's not enough tension at the bottom here when you're back here, you can always take a small step forward, because the most important part is for there to be tension right here in this bottom part of the movement. And we're aiming for about 10 reps. Now the exact number of reps is not important. The more significant thing is, how does it feel to you? You should feel the muscle getting tired as you approach 10. You might feel a burning feeling or a tension feeling. That is okay, that's normal. Now, if you can get to 12 to 15, that is okay too. Just go until you feel that muscle fatigue. Gonna try for 2 more. Last one. And relax. So we just did pushing. Now we're gonna move to pulling. So moving to right into a banded pull. So from here, I'm gonna step back until I feel the band pulling me forward. Chest up, pulling back to my rib cage. So I'm really bending that elbow, pulling to the rib cage. And that's what's going to get me in the right position where I'm parallel with the ground. So I'm not pulling up here, I'm pulling down to my rib cage. Now it's okay if my thumbs are a little bit pointed inwards. What feels comfortable for your shoulder is important. You should feel that between your shoulder blades as you're doing this. Try and keep your hands wide. 2 more. 1 more. And relax. So that was set 1 of our pushing and pulling exercises. We're gonna go straight into set 2 because, well, our pulling muscles were working, our pushing muscles were recovering. So we can save time by going straight in to the next set. Now, if you ever are at a point where you feel like, oh man, I need a little bit more of a break, that is okay to take a little bit longer of a break, a couple minutes between sets. But if you're pressed for time, this is a way of getting a great workout in, well, not having to take a lot of time at the gym doing it. So that's why we do supersets. So chest out, hands wide, feel that tension across your chest, pushing out towards the front. Now, if you need to, you can step forward with one foot if you feel like the band's pulling you off balance. That will make it a little more balanced of a movement where you don't feel like you're being pulled over. Either of those is fine, feet together or one foot out in front of the other. Doesn't matter which foot, whatever feels comfortable. I'm more right-handed, so I tend to put my right foot out in front. I say more right-handed because I actually do some things better left-handed. Let me know, are any of you guys ambidextrous in the chat? Now the rep amount doesn't matter too much on this one. Just go to where you feel tired in the muscle. Might feel like it's starting to slow down. 2 more. 1 more. And relax. Now something important I want to point out on this one is my thumbs don't have to be pointed in. If that is uncomfortable for your shoulder, you can come to a bit of an angle where your elbows are a little more tucked in. So instead of being here where your elbows are high, you can bring the elbows down a little bit to take a little bit of the pressure off your shoulder. If that's more comfortable in your shoulder, that is totally fine. Now going to our second set of pulling exercises. Now, what I would recommend if you're just starting out, try and do 2 sets and see how that feels. So if you do that on our schedule, that'd be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So that would be 6 sets overall in the week. Start with that and see how that feels. If you've done that and feel like I could do more, try for 3 sets. So we're doing our second set of pulling. So pulling back to your rib cage and back. All the way back though, that's the important part, is don't cheat yourself out of that end of the rep, because that is the most important part of the movement, is this last push out towards the front, to where it's really going to a stretch position of the muscle, where it opens up that muscle, really is building up that tension in the muscle, and that's what's going to lead to growth. That's why getting the band at the right distance is such an important feature. You want to step back far enough where you have tension at this end point. If it goes completely slack at the end, you're too close to the pillar or too close to wherever you've attached the band to. 2 more. 1 last one, and relax. So that was our second set. Now, if you feel really tired, you can stop here, take a moment, catch your breath. If you're ready to keep going with me though, let's try for set number 3 of chest. So, getting back into position, I'm stepping forward to where I have tension all the way through the movement. So, I should feel tension when my hands are back here. Now, if you want to, you can always put the band over the top of your arms if that's more comfortable. I personally find it's a little easier to be underneath, but whatever works for you is totally fine. You can be up here like this as well. So, stepping forward till you feel tension in that band, and then pressing forward into a chest press. So chest up, pushing forward all the way back, keeping that chest open. So So I'm not doing this, closing my chest, keeping it open to the front. Now you might feel a little more tired this time, where it's harder to get to the same reps. Don't worry about trying to hit the same rep number, just go to where you feel tension and fatigue in the muscle. All the way back and all the way forward. Two more. Last one. And relax. All right, so that was set number 3 of chest press. Now we're going into our banded row. So while the chest was working, the row was recovering. So I'm stepping back to where I feel that tension pulling me forward. So if you should feel this band pulling you forward at that distance. Shouldn't be slack, it should be a little bit tight. From here, pulling back to your rib cage and then back forward. See how my shoulders kind of pull forward as I do this? And I'm pulling them back, pinching my shoulder blades together, pulling to my rib cage. I'm not so much worrying about the reps, so that's why I'm not counting them. You can count them, it's totally fine to do, but the thing that you don't want to fall into is stopping at a particular rep number before you're actually tired. Because some days you might feel like you have a lot of energy, you might be feeling really good, you might be able, and because of that, you're able to do more reps than you normally would be able to. And that's a good thing. So you want to be paying attention to how does my muscle feel in my shoulders and back, and then working to that potential. Two more. One more, and relax. So, whole thing with this is trying to feel that muscle working, feel the fatigue building up, because we're working on muscle endurance as well as strength. So it's primarily it's a mix of the two, and that's what's going to get us muscle growth. So that was set number 3. Now, if you feel tired after set number 3, you can stop here. I'm going to be trying for a 4th set to really get all I can out of the muscle before the weekend. So I've been doing this a little while. I found for me, doing Monday and Friday 4 sets, I have enough recovery to be able to do that. I can't quite do 3 workouts of 4 sets because that's a little too much. I'm a little too sore. But as you work more, your body's recovery ability increases at that volume. When I say volume, I'm just saying the number of sets per workout. So we've just finished 3 sets. We're trying for a 4th. That's a slight increase in volume of sets. Just the number of sets per muscle that per week is volume. So from here, chest out, hands wide, pushing out towards the front into that chest press, working the pec muscles, the tricep, and the front deltoid, or anterior deltoid is the other name for it. Anterior just means the front of the body. So you have an anterior deltoid for the front and a posterior deltoid in the back, which also you could say the front deltoid and rear deltoid. Now it'd be totally normal to do fewer reps on the last set. Your muscles probably already more fatigued at this point. So don't worry about the number of reps. Just go to where you feel that muscle tiring out. Two more. And last one, trying to keep good form though, all the way through. So all the way forward and all the way back. And that was set number 4. Now we're going into set number 4 of pulling exercises. So here, pulling to the back, going all the way forward, all the way back. Now it's most important on this 4th set to make sure you're not rushing the movement. You want to go all the way forward. You don't want to come back halfway and then pull again. Do these little half reps. You want to go full reps all the way back to a stretch position. That stretch position is the most important part of this movement. Trying to feel that between your shoulder blades, your upper back. Bending those elbows, pulling back. Two more. Last one. And relax. So that was 4 sets of upper body in both pushing and pulling. We cover a majority of the upper body muscles doing that. Now we're gonna move to lower body. Now for lower body, I find that for me, three sets is about all I can do before I become really sore. So we're gonna go for 3 sets of squats and 3 sets of stiff-legged deadlift. So for this, stepping right in the middle of the band, feet about shoulder width apart, and it should feel about even on both sides. From here, bring your hands up to your shoulders. This is a banded squat we're doing. So you should feel the band pulling you down. Now from here, bending your knees. Now my knees are going in the same direction as my toes. So if you need to, point your toes a little bit out, that's okay. You should look down and your knees should bend in the same direction as your toes do. Keeping my chest up and really bending those knees as much as I can. Should feel this in the top of my thigh. And I'm going till I feel that fatigue building up in my legs. Now this is probably going to cause a lot more cardiovascular work as well. These are very big muscles and the heart has to work hard to pump blood to those muscles. Should feel that burning in your thigh. One more. And relax. Now something I'd make sure of is that when you bend down, that there's still tension in the band. So if you need to, step a little bit wider, that'll increase that tension in the band. Now from here, we just worked the front of the thigh. Now we're gonna work the back of the thigh. So I'm gonna hook the bands together. Just like that. And we're gonna do a stiff-legged deadlift. So stepping right in the middle of the band, pulling up till you have tension. So you might need to pull just a little bit lower on the band. From here, you're gonna push your hips out to the back. So feet about shoulder width apart, back straight, knees straight, pushing your hips out to the back, and then stand back up. You should feel that tension in your hamstrings, in the back of your thigh, really trying to drive those hips backwards. You should feel a band pulling you down. Now this is a great exercise if you have tight hamstrings, because you're not only stretching them at the same time as you're strengthening them. So you're getting a double effect where it's not just stretching them, you're also building up that muscle in a stretched position. So sometimes you don't just have tight hamstrings, you have weak hamstrings. And this is great for that. So we're building up strong hamstrings at the same time. Oh, you should really feel those hamstrings engage. Trying to really push your hips back into the wall. Trying to really drive those hips back. That's what's going to get you that hamstring stretch. Trying to keep those knees from bending. Really trying to go down as low as you can. 2 more. 1 more. And relax. So that was set number 1 of legs. Now, if you're a little bit red or feeling like you're sweating a little bit, that's good. That means you're working hard. Your body's working as it's supposed to. You're staying cool. You might be getting some cardiovascular benefits from this as well. So instead of going on an elliptical on a treadmill, something like that, we can actually just go from one exercise to the next, lifting weights or doing resistance training with bands or cables or anything like that, and still get cardiovascular endurance from that as well. So I'm going to detach the bands back to the handles and go right into squats. So feet about shoulder width apart, hands up by my shoulders. You can go a little wider than shoulder width if you need to. Just if you do that, point your toes out a little bit towards the sides. From here, bending my knees as much as I can, trying to go low down to the ground and then back up. Really trying to keep my back flat as I do this. So I'm pushing my hips back and keeping my back flat. Really trying to bend those knees as much as I can. And I'm going until I feel that fatigue in my legs. Two more. One more. Last one, and relax. And hooking the band together, going straight into stiff-legged deadlift. So we just worked the front of the thigh. Now we're gonna work the back of the thigh. Stepping in the middle of the band, pulling till there's tension. So it can be slack between your hands, but you should feel tension going down to your foot. From here, pushing your hips to the back, really bringing your hips back, keeping your back straight. I'm hinging at my hips. I'm using that hip joint to take all the load of this. I don't want the back joints to do anything, so the spine is straight. Really just trying to use that giant muscle at the hip. Those glute muscles, those hamstring muscles at my hips. And hamstrings run from the back of the hips all the way to the back of the knee. Feeling it anywhere along there is fine. Now I find looking up with your head helps remind you to keep your back straight. Just feel that stretch as you go down. The band is pulling you into that stretch. I'm going until I feel that fatigue building up. One more. Last one. Oh, and relax. So, if you've been liking this workout and want to see more, I host these live streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. Love to see you guys there. If you're liking this content, go ahead and hit subscribe and the bell so you can be here next time for our workout live. And I'm gonna just detach the bands from each other. So we're back to using handles. If you have questions, let me know in the chat. I'm gonna take a quick second, grab a sip of water before we go into our last set of legs. Now, after we finish legs, I'll show you an exercise for the rotator cuff to really help protect your shoulder. So we'll go over that in just a second. Just gotta get through our last set of legs. So, last set of banded squats. Standing right in the middle of the band. Bring your hands up to your shoulders. And from here, bending your knees, keeping your back straight. So I'm going as low as I can, keeping my back straight. Having the band pull me down. I should feel that tension in the band all the way through this movement. Really bending down as low as you can. Now, if you can't quite get this low, where you're going all the way down to the ground, just go as low as you can. And as you work on this, it can actually improve where you can get a little lower each time. For some people, it takes a little bit of time for them to really get a full depth squat. But the lower you go, the more we're hitting those quads, the muscles on the front of your thigh. So they're called the quads because there's actually 4 of them. It's 4 different muscles in that group that work together on this. So you have 3 vasti muscles, vastus lateralis, medialis, and intermedius, and then a muscle called rectus femoris. 2 more. Should feel that burning in your thigh. And relax. Whew. So they all run across here in front of your thigh. There's the vastus medialis, intermedius, rectus femoris, and vastus lateralis on the outside. That doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. You don't need to worry about which one's where. It's just, those are the muscles, you should feel it right here in the top of your thigh. All right. Whew. Breathing a little heavy as we go. It's gonna get harder and harder to a point. So don't worry if the end of your workout feels more taxed. It's just because we're working hard, heat's building up, and you might be breathing a little more heavy. If you need to take a little bit longer between sets, at the end, that is okay. My goal though is to get through the workout quickly for you guys so we can get an efficient workout in. So we're gonna go right in to our last set of stiff-legged deadlift. So hooking the bands together, stepping in the middle of the band, grabbing to where there's tension all the way through the movement. So what I like to do is reach down grab the band, there should be tension right here, and then stand up into that position with my back straight, excuse me. From here, standing in front of a wall, pushing your hips back into the wall. I like having the wall as a guideline because that way you know you're driving your hips back, tapping that wall, and standing back up. You're pushing back, keeping your back straight, hinging from the hips. Now going until you feel tired in those hamstrings, which run along the back of your thigh. Feel that in the back of your leg. Now, if you have any pain or tingling in your low back, then stop there. That means we're putting pressure on the nerve. Usually it means we're not quite straight in your back. So if you do feel that, don't feel like you have to push into that. That's actually stop, give your back some rest. So that means we're putting pressure on the nerve, which we do not want to do. 2 more. Going as low as you can. Last one. And relax. So we can step out of the band. And now we're going to do one exercise for the rotator cuff to finish out with. So for this, I'm grabbing a light band. Emphasis on light band on this one. It's very hard to do right with a heavy band. So I'm doing much, much lighter than the other exercises we've done. I would start with the lightest band you have and see how it feels. So this is going to start similar to the row with our hands out in front of us like this, but instead of pulling down to my rib cage, I'm going to use all these small muscles in the back of the shoulder. So the rotator cuff muscles run right back in here in your shoulder. They sort of form a sleeve around that ball and socket joint. So for this, I'm actually going to grab the fabric part of the handles instead of the grip part of the handles. So, and from here, I'm going to imagine you're scooping ice cream and throwing it behind you. So scoop and throw. And what that's going to do is engage all those little muscles in the rotation of the shoulder, that rotator cuff muscle. So I'm pulling to my ears, keeping my hands wide so I'm not using my bicep. I'm keeping my hands out to the sides like a W. So it's like a W shape. It's called a face pull exercise or a shoulder W are the 2 names I've heard for it. Let me know if you've heard a different name. Everyone seems to have their own names for each exercise. And as long as it communicates to you the right idea. So we're pulling past your face. Now again, with these, we just want to go till you feel fatigue in that muscle. Two more. 11 and 12. Now with this exercise, I'm going to do just 1 set just to maintain the muscle I have in that. I'm not trying to build up my rotator cuff more because I've done that previously. But you could always add extra sets of this if you feel like your rotator cuff needs some work. Feel like you're popping in the shoulder. Add a couple extra sets at the end of your workout. 2 to 3 sets of rotator cuff. And there you're ready to go. So if you like these sort of workouts and want to see more, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon for being alerted that we do these, when I do these live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. 11 o'clock Pacific time. Hope to see you guys there.